In the quietest hour of night, when the world is settled into its deepest breath, there comes a whisper, soft as silk on still water. Tonight, we walk together down a moonlit path where ancient wisdom meets the tender vulnerability of the human heart. Before we begin this gentle journey, if these moments of quiet reflection bring you peace, I invite you to subscribe to this sanctuary of stillness. Offer a soft like as you would light incense, and perhaps share in the comments below where in this vast world you're listening from tonight. Your presence here, wherever you are, is a gift. Picture, if you will, cherry blossoms drifting on an evening breeze, each petal a thought released, each gentle fall a letting go. Somewhere in the distance, a monk walks slowly through an ancient forest, his footsteps so light they barely disturb the moss beneath. The air carries the faint curl of sandalwood incense, rising like prayers into the starlit sky. Tonight, we explore a truth as old as the first meditation bell, yet as immediate as this very breath. It's okay to feel lost. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a beautiful understanding that being lost is not the opposite of being found. It is simply another way of being present in the mystery of existence. As we settle into this sacred space between waking and sleeping, let your breath become as natural as wind through bamboo leaves. There's nowhere to go, nothing to achieve, only this moment, this breath, this gentle acceptance of exactly where you are. What is the sound of peace before thought arrives? This question drifts through our awareness, like morning mist over a mountain lake, not demanding an answer, but inviting us into the space where questions and answers dissolve into something deeper. The great Zen master Dogen once asked, "What is the original face you had before your parents were born?" Tonight, we might ask instead, what is the original home of the heart before it learned the word lost? Imagine a dewdrop forming in the pre-dawn darkness, hanging delicate and perfect on a spider's web. The dewdrop doesn't question whether it belongs there, doesn't worry about tomorrow's sun, doesn't remember yesterday's rain. It simply is complete in its momentary existence, reflecting the entire cosmos in its tiny sphere. In the Buddhist understanding, feeling lost is like being that dewdrop in the darkness before dawn. We may not see the vast web that supports us. We may not sense the approaching light, but we are held. We are exactly where we need to be. We are reflecting something infinite, even in our smallness. The ancient texts speak of don't know mind. That precious state where the thinking mind releases its desperate need to categorize, to understand, to position itself in relation to everything else. Don't know mind is not ignorance. It is the profound wisdom of acknowledging that the deepest truths cannot be grasped by thought alone. When we feel lost, we are often in don't know mind without realizing it. We are in the fertile darkness where seeds of wisdom wait to sprout. The monk Jia Shu, when asked about the Buddha nature of a dog, simply said, "Mu, no, nothing, the void that contains everything." Sometimes feeling lost is our own mu, not an absence, but a presence too vast for our small understanding to contain. As the night deepens around us, feel how the darkness doesn't push against you, but receives you, holds you like water holds a fallen leaf, carrying you gently toward whatever shore awaits. 2,500 years ago, beneath a Bodhi tree, a young prince sat in meditation, facing the deepest questions of human existence. He had left behind palace walls and certainty, wandering as a seeker through forests of confusion, valleys of doubt, mountains of spiritual seeking. For 6 years, he felt profoundly lost. The Buddha's first teaching after his awakening was this: life contains suffering, and this suffering comes from our attachment to how we think things should be. But perhaps more gently, we might understand this teaching as life contains losing your way, and this losing your way comes from believing there is only one right path. In the Lotus Sutra, there's a beautiful story of children playing in a burning house, so absorbed in their games that they don't notice the danger. A wise father calls to them, offering different toys. A cart pulled by sheep, one by deer, one by oxen. Each child is drawn to different promises, but all find their way to safety. The teaching whispers, there are many paths out of confusion, and the path that calls to you is perfect for you. The Heart Sutra, chanted in monasteries around the world each dawn, begins with these words. When the Bodhisattva of compassion was practicing the deep perfection of wisdom, he saw that all things are empty of separate self-existence and was freed from all suffering. Empty doesn't mean meaningless. It means spacious, interconnected, free from the prison of believing we are separate and alone. When you feel lost tonight, remember you are part of an ancient river of seekers. Every person who has ever looked up at stars and wondered about their place, every heart that has felt adrift in the ocean of existence, every soul that has questioned and doubted and searched, you are in communion with them all. Your lostness is not a flaw in your character. It's evidence of your awakening humanity. The third Zen patriarch, Sang San, wrote in his poem on the heart of trust, "The great way is not difficult for those who do not pick and choose. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised." Perhaps feeling lost is what happens when we stop picking and choosing, when we allow ourselves to not know, to rest in the pregnant pause before understanding crystallizes. As sleep begins to call your name, feel how your breath rises and falls. Like waves on a shore that has welcomed countless tides, each one unique, each one part of an eternal rhythm. Let me tell you about Master Ryokan, the 18th century Zen monk who lived in a simple hut on Mount Kagami. Unlike other monks of his time, Ryokan never sought to teach or gather disciples. Instead, he spent his days playing with children in the village, writing poetry, and begging for his simple meals. One evening, as autumn painted the mountain slopes in gold and crimson, a young merchant came to Ryokan's hut. The merchant had heard of the monk's reputation for wisdom and had traveled for 3 days, hoping for guidance. "Master," he said, bowing deeply, "I am lost. My business is failing. My wife no longer speaks to me with warmth. My children seem like strangers. I don't know who I am anymore or what my life means." Ryokan looked up from the poem he was writing and smiled gently. "Come," he said, "let me show you something." He led the merchant outside into the cool night air. Above them, the Milky Way spilled across the darkness like rice scattered on black silk. "Do you see that star?" Ryokan pointed to a particularly bright one near the horizon. The merchant nodded. "Is it lost?" the monk asked. The merchant considered this. I don't think so. It's exactly where it should be in the sky." "And that one?" Ryokan pointed to another star. "Also where it should be," the merchant replied, beginning to understand, but not quite grasping the teaching. Ryokan was quiet for a long moment, then said softly, "Each star shines in its own place, follows its own path across the seasons, burns with its own light. None compare themselves to others. None worry about their purpose. They simply shine." He paused, then added with characteristic gentleness, "You too are exactly where you need to be, shining exactly as brightly as you need to shine. Being lost is just another way of shining." The merchant stayed that night, sleeping on Ryokan's simple floor. In the morning, he found the monk sitting in meditation, face soft with contentment. When Ryokan opened his eyes, the merchant said, "I think I'm still lost." Ryokan laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Good," he said. "Now you're lost on purpose. That's the beginning of finding your way." Years later, the merchant would tell his own children this story, and they would tell theirs, and so the wisdom of accepting lostness passed down like a river flowing through generations. each person adding their own understanding to the stream. In Ryokan's own words, written on a cold winter night, "Too lazy to be ambitious, I let the world take care of itself. 10 days worth of rice in my bag, a bundle of twigs by the fireplace. Why chatter about delusion and enlightenment? Listening to the night rain on my roof, I sit comfortably, with both legs stretched out. Now, as the night settles deeper around you, let us turn gently inward, like a flower closing its petals to hold the day's last warmth." In the Buddhist tradition, this turning inward is not self-absorption, but self-recognition, seeing clearly what has always been present, what was never actually lost. With each breath, imagine you are a monk walking slowly through an inner landscape of infinite spaciousness. There are no walls here, no boundaries, only awareness aware of itself. Your breath becomes the rhythm of your footsteps on this inner path, each exhale a letting go, each inhale a gentle welcoming. The breath knows no confusion. It doesn't question whether it should flow in or out, doesn't worry about tomorrow's breathing, or regret yesterday's breath. It simply flows, like water finding its natural course, like moonlight filling empty space. You are that natural flow, that effortless being. In this inner monastery of awareness, notice how thoughts arise like clouds in a vast sky. Some clouds are shaped like worries. Where am I going? What should I do? Why don't I know? Some clouds are shaped like memories. I used to be certain. I used to know my direction. I used to feel secure. And some clouds are shaped like dreams of the future. When I figure this out, when I find my path, when I'm no longer confused. But you, the awareness watching these cloud thoughts drift by, are you confused? The sky doesn't become stormy because storm clouds pass through it. The sky remains spacious, unchanged, present, whether filled with sunshine or rain, whether bright, with stars or veiled in mist. This awareness that you are, not the awareness that belongs to you, but the awareness that you are, has never been lost. It's like space itself, always present, never disturbed, endlessly accommodating whatever appears within it. When you feel lost, it's the contents of awareness that seem scattered, but awareness itself remains clear, still, perfectly at peace. The great teacher Ramana Maharshi would ask seekers, "Who am I?" Not what am I, or why am I, or where am I going, but simply, who am I? When all the roles fall away, when all the identities dissolve, when all the stories quiet down, what remains? What is looking through your eyes right now? What is hearing these words? What is breathing your breath? This essential being, this aware presence that you are, has never taken a single step on any path because it has never been anywhere else but here, never been any time but now. It's like trying to find water while swimming in the ocean. The seeking. Mind says, I must find water, while never noticing it's surrounded by, supported by, made of the very thing it seeks. As your body settles deeper into rest, feel how you can let go of being the seeker and simply be the sought. Let go of being the one who is lost and recognize yourself as the home that was never left. In a small monastery in ancient China, there lived a monk named Beizheng, who was known for his unusual teaching methods. One day, a fox appeared to him and spoke, "Master, I was once a monk like you, but I gave a wrong answer to a student's question about enlightenment. As punishment, I've been reborn as a fox for 500 lifetimes. Can you help me?" Beizheng asked, "What question did you answer wrongly?" The fox replied, "A student asked me, does an enlightened person fall under the law of cause and effect?" I answered, "No, an enlightened person is beyond cause and effect." What should I have said? Beizheng smiled and said, "An enlightened person is not ignorant of cause and effect." Upon hearing these words, the fox was immediately freed from his fox form. This curious story holds a hidden truth about feeling lost. Even our lostness follows the law of cause and effect, but this doesn't make it wrong or bad. The first monk thought enlightenment meant escaping the natural flow of life. The corrected answer suggests that enlightenment means flowing with life so completely that even being lost becomes part of the perfect unfolding. In Tibet, there's a practice called chod, where meditators go to frightening places, cemeteries, lonely mountain passes, haunted forests, specifically to encounter their fears and confusions. The practitioners offer their bodies symbolically to demons and hungry spirits, discovering that what they feared was just another face of emptiness. They learn to dance with lostness instead of running from it. The Zen tradition is full of these gentle surprises. Master Ikkyu, the wild monk of medieval Japan, once wrote, "Every day, priests minutely examine the Dharma and endlessly chant complicated sutras. Before doing that, though, they should learn how to read the love letters sent by the wind and rain, the snow and moon." Sometimes the deepest teachings come not from ancient texts, but from the simple fact of not knowing what tomorrow will bring. Here's a secret the old masters knew. There's a difference between being lost like a person, searching frantically for their keys, and being lost like a leaf, floating downstream, trusting the current. One is suffering. The other is surrender. One is resistance. The other is flow. One demands answers. The other rests and questions. The great woman Zen Master Chiono was carrying water in an old bucket reinforced with bamboo. One moonlit night, the bamboo broke, the bottom fell out, and water rushed away. In that moment, watching the water disappear into the earth, she experienced profound awakening. Her poem reads, "In this way, and that I tried to save the old bucket, but the bamboo strip broke and the bottom fell out. No more water in the bucket. No more moon in the water. Sometimes we need to lose the bucket to find the moon. Sometimes we need to feel completely lost to discover we were never separate from the source. The water doesn't belong to the bucket. The bucket serves the water. Your identity doesn't contain your essence. It serves your essence." As sleep draws closer, rest in this upside-down wisdom where losing becomes finding, where not knowing becomes the deepest knowledge, where confusion becomes a doorway to clarity. In the gentle hours when night begins to deepen, let us explore the Buddha's most tender insight, that suffering is not the enemy of peace, but its teacher, and that feeling lost is often the first step toward finding our true nature. The Sanskrit word for suffering is dukkha, which originally meant a wheel that doesn't turn smoothly. Imagine an old cart with a bent axle, bumping and grinding its way down a country road. The wheel wants to turn freely, but something prevents its natural flow. This is the feeling of being lost, not broken, just temporarily unable to turn with ease. But consider this, even a wheel with a bent axle eventually reaches its destination. The journey might be bumpier, the path more uncertain, but the wheel keeps turning, keeps moving forward, keeps carrying its precious cargo toward whatever awaits. Your lostness is like this, not a breakdown, but a different rhythm, not a mistake, but another way of traveling through the landscape of being human. In the deep forests of Thailand, meditation masters teach students to see suffering as a guest in the house of awareness. When sadness visits, they say, don't slam the door. When confusion arrives, offer tea. When anxiety knocks, open wide and say, I see you. Come, sit by the fire. The guest will leave when ready, but if you fight with your guests, they tend to stay much longer. Peace, in the Buddhist understanding, is not the absence of storms, but the space that holds all weather. It's like the sky that remains unchanging, whether painted with sunset colors, filled with storm clouds, or brilliant with stars. You are that sky, and your experiences of being lost are just weather patterns moving through your infinite spaciousness. The Heart Sutra teaches gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha, gone, gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond, awakening, so be it. But what if we understood this not as leaving something behind, but as discovering that what we thought we had to leave behind was never real in the first place? What if gone beyond being lost simply means recognizing that there was never anywhere to go? Master Wang Po taught that seeking Buddha is already a mistake, because you are already Buddha nature expressing itself temporarily as someone who believes they are lost. The wave doesn't need to find the ocean. It needs to recognize it has always been ocean playing at being a wave. As your breath slows and deepens, imagine each exhale releasing the need to not be lost, and each inhale welcoming whatever arises. In awareness, the breath knows this secret. There's no conflict between flowing out and flowing in. Each movement is complete in itself, perfect in its temporary existence. Tonight, as peace and confusion dance together in your awareness, like moonlight and shadows playing across water, rest in the knowing that both are movements of the same essential stillness. Imagine a master calligrapher, brush poised above rice paper, about to write the character for release. The brush doesn't grip the ink flows freely through it. The hand doesn't clutch the brush. It moves as naturally as breath moves through lungs. This is the art of letting go, not forcing release, but allowing flow. In the mountains of Japan, there are temples where monks practice forest bathing meditation. They sit beneath ancient cedars and simply let go of being anyone in particular, not trying to become enlightened, not trying to solve their problems, not trying to find themselves, just letting the forest breathe them, letting the mountain hold them, letting their small sense of self dissolve into something vast and nameless. One such monk, after sitting for hours beneath a 1,000-year-old tree, wrote this haiku: "Even the pine doesn't know it's a pine autumn wind blowing. What does it mean to let go?" In Zen, there's a saying, "You are perfect as you are, and you could use a little improvement." This seeming contradiction points to the heart of letting go, releasing the struggle between what is and what should be, while remaining open to natural change. Letting go of being lost doesn't mean finding yourself. It means releasing the story that being lost is a problem to be solved. A river doesn't know where it's going, yet it flows with perfect confidence toward the sea. It doesn't resist rocks in its path. It flows around them, wears them smooth, makes music with them. The great teacher Ajahn Chah used to tell his students, "You see this glass? I love this glass. It holds my water admirably. When the sun shines on it, it reflects the light beautifully. When I tap it, it has a lovely ring. Yet for me, this glass is already broken. When the wind knocks it over or my elbow brushes it off the table and it falls to the ground and shatters, I say, of course, but because I understand that this glass is already broken, every moment I have with it is precious." What if you understood your current confusion, your sense of being lost, as already temporary? Not something to get rid of, but something to appreciate while it's here, like a season that will naturally change when its time comes. The glass doesn't suffer from being breakable. It simply reflects light beautifully while it can. Letting go is like allowing snow to melt in your open palm. You don't have to push it away. You don't have to make it stay. You simply hold your hand open and let warmth do what warmth naturally does. Your awareness is that open palm, and whatever you're experiencing is the snow, beautiful in its temporary form, peaceful in its natural dissolution in Vietnamese. The word for letting go is boom. It sounds like a bell releasing its note into silence. Each breath you take is a small boom, a gentle release, a soft return to stillness. As you sink deeper toward sleep, Practice this letting go with each exhale, not forcing anything. Away, just allowing whatever wants to leave to drift off like leaves on an autumn breeze. Trusting that what remains is what belongs. In the Zen tradition, there's a teaching about great doubt, not the anxious doubt that torments, but the profound doubt that opens. Great doubt is like standing at the edge of a vast canyon at dawn, unable to see the bottom, unable to see the other side, but feeling in every cell of your body that something magnificent is about to reveal itself. Master Dogen taught that we don't practice meditation to become enlightened. We practice enlightenment. This means that right now, in this moment of feeling lost, you are not preparing for awakening. You are awakening itself, taking the temporary form of confusion. The lotus doesn't apologize for growing in mud. It uses the mud to create something beautiful. In the monasteries of Tibet, young monks learn a curious teaching, that the moment of deepest confusion often comes just before clarity dawns. They call this the darkness before the light, not referring to something negative, but to the pregnant darkness of a seed just before it sprouts, the quiet darkness of dawn just before the sun appears. Consider the nature of actual awakening. From sleep, one moment you are unconscious, dreaming perhaps, completely unaware that you are lying in a bed in a room in a particular time and place. The next moment, awareness returns. But here's the mystery. What wakes up? What was always present, even during sleep, to witness the return of consciousness? In the same way, spiritual awakening is not the creation of something new, but the recognition of what was never absent. The great secret is that you cannot actually be lost because you are not separate from the totality of existence. A wave cannot be lost from the ocean because it is ocean. A cloud cannot be lost from the sky because it is sky taking a temporary form. Huineng, the sixth Zen patriarch, had his great awakening upon hearing these words from the eyes. Diamond Sutra. Give rise to a mind that abides nowhere. What if feeling lost is actually your mind practicing not abiding anywhere? What if confusion is a form of freedom? Freedom from the prison of thinking you know who you are and where you should be. In the Christian mystical tradition, Saint John of the Cross wrote about the dark night of the soul, periods when all spiritual consolation disappears and one feels abandoned by the divine. But he understood this darkness as a gift, a way for the soul to be purified of its attachments to spiritual experiences and to discover faith that doesn't depend on feeling good about faith. Buddhism offers a similar understanding. Sometimes the path involves losing the path. Sometimes awakening looks like being totally asleep. Sometimes finding yourself requires losing every idea you have about who you think you are. The morning star that the Buddha saw as he awakened under the Bodhi tree was not something new appearing in the sky. It had been there all night, shining steadily through the darkness. His awakening was simply the recognition of what had never been absent, the clear light of awareness that shines whether we notice it or not. As you rest here in the gentle darkness of approaching sleep, feel how awareness itself is like that morning star, constant, luminous, peaceful, requiring nothing from you but the willingness to notice what has always been present. There's an old Sufi story about a man who lost his keys in his house, but went outside to look for them under a street lamp. When asked why, he replied, "The light is better out here." We laugh at this story, but how often do we search for ourselves in the brightly lit areas of life, in achievements, relationships, roles, identities, when what we're looking for can only be found in the darker, less familiar territories of being? The Buddhist concept of sunyata, or emptiness, is one of the most misunderstood teachings in spiritual literature. Emptiness doesn't mean that nothing exists. It means that nothing exists in the way we usually think it does, as separate, permanent, independently arising entities. You are empty of being a fixed self, which means you are free to be anything, everything, nothing, depending on what the moment calls for. When you feel lost, you are touching the edge of this emptiness, this fundamental groundlessness that mystics throughout history have called the source of all freedom. Instead of solid ground to stand on, you discover you are like a bird in flight, supported not by anything beneath you, but by the very act of moving through open space. Pema Chödrön, the American Buddhist teacher, describes this as comfortable with uncertainty. She suggests that our discomfort with not knowing is actually our discomfort with being alive, because life is inherently uncertain, constantly changing, never predictable. The only certainty is uncertainty. The only permanent thing is impermanence. In Japanese aesthetics, there's a principle called wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A tea bowl with a crack in it, repaired with gold, becomes more beautiful than when it was perfect. Your sense of being lost, your cracks and uncertainties, are not flaws to be hidden, but places where light can enter, where gold can flow, where true beauty reveals itself. The Taoist sage Zhuangzi dreamed he was a butterfly, so vivid and joyful. Was this dream that upon waking he wondered, am I Zhuangzi, who dreamed of being a butterfly, or am I a butterfly dreaming of being Zhuangzi? This playful uncertainty about the nature of identity points to a profound truth. Maybe being lost is just another way of flying dot in Zen archery. Masters teach students to aim without aiming, to hit the target by becoming one with the bow, the arrow, and the target. There's no separate archer trying to hit something out there. There's just the unified field of awareness expressing itself as the perfect shot. Similarly, finding your way is not about you going somewhere. It's about recognizing that the seeker, the path, and the destination are all movements within the same undivided wholeness. The Persian mystic Rumi wrote, "Sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment." In our culture, we're taught that confusion is something to get rid of as quickly as possible. But spiritual traditions around the world recognize bewilderment as a doorway to wonder, to fresh perception, to what the Zen tradition calls beginner's mind. Beginner's mind doesn't know what should happen next, doesn't have preconceptions about how things should unfold, approaches each moment with curiosity rather than judgment. When you feel lost, you are in perfect beginner's mind, perfectly positioned to discover something you never could have found if you thought you knew where you were going. In the mountains of Tibet, there are glaciers that have been forming for thousands of years. Snow falls, accumulates, becomes ice, and slowly, drop by drop, melts into streams that become rivers that flow all the way to the sea. Each drop of water in that glacier was once a unique snowflake, but now it's part of something vast, flowing, purposeful. Your experience of feeling lost is like one of those snowflakes. It seems separate, seems like your private struggle, but it's actually part of an ancient glacier of human experience that has been accumulating for millennia. Every person who has ever wondered about their purpose, every heart that has felt adrift, every soul that has questioned its path, you are connected to all of them through this shared experience of uncertainty. The Buddha taught that compassion naturally arises when we recognize our interconnectedness. But perhaps an even deeper teaching is that feeling lost is itself a form of compassion, not self-pity, but a softening of the heart that makes us more available to others who are struggling, more humble about our own wisdom, more gentle with the universal human condition of not having all the answers. In the Tibetan practice of Tonglen, meditators breathe in suffering and breathe out relief. This might seem backwards. Shouldn't we try to avoid suffering? But the practice teaches, use that suffering, when met with an open heart, transforms into wisdom and compassion. Your confusion, breathed in fully and accepted completely, becomes space for understanding not just yourself, but everyone who has ever felt lost. Master Thich Nhat Hanh teaches about interbeing, the truth that nothing exists independently. that everything arises in relationship with everything else. The cloud exists in the paper because without cloud, there would be no rain for the trees. The sun exists in the paper because without sun, the trees could not grow. In the same way, your lostness exists in relationship with everyone who has ever found their way, and your eventual finding exists in relationship with everyone who is currently lost. This is not abstract philosophy, but lived reality. Your willingness to feel lost without immediately trying to fix it creates space in the world for others to feel lost without shame. Your acceptance of uncertainty gives others permission to not have all the answers. Your compassion for your own confusion becomes a gift to everyone who will ever struggle with doubt. In the Jewish tradition, there's a concept called tikkun olam, repairing the world. Some say the world was intentionally created with cracks and imperfections, so that humans could participate in the ongoing creation by bringing light to dark places, healing to broken places, love to lost places. Perhaps feeling lost is your invitation to participate in tikkun olam, not by fixing yourself, but by bringing compassion to the very experience of being human in an uncertain world. The Vietnamese teacher, Sister True Dedication, speaks of the river of suffering and the river of awakening flowing side by side. She suggests we don't cross from one river to the other, but learn to embrace both rivers as part of the same watershed. Your confusion and your clarity, your lostness and your wisdom, your questions and your insights, all flowing together toward the same ocean of understanding. In Tibetan, the word for compassion is Nanwaying, which literally means heart openness. Not opening your heart to get something or to become someone different, but the natural opening that happens when you stop defending against what is. Stop trying to manage your experience. Stop believing that feeling lost means something has gone wrong. As you breathe here in the darkness, feel how your breath connects you to every being who has ever breathed, ever struggled, ever wondered about their place in the mystery of existence. You are breathing the same air that was breathed by Buddha under the Bodhi tree, by countless seekers in countless traditions, by everyone who has ever looked up at stars and felt both infinitely small and infinitely connected. In ancient monasteries, masters sometimes built doors that could only be opened by not trying to open them. The harder a student pushed, the more firmly the door remained closed. Only when the student stopped pushing, relaxed completely, and simply rested their hand gently on the door, did it swing open effortlessly. This is the secret door of spiritual understanding. It opens not to force, but to surrender, not to knowing, but to not knowing, not to finding, but to letting yourself be found. The Chinese have a saying, the pine teaches silence, the rock teaches stillness, but the valley teaches emptiness. When you feel lost, you are in the valley, the low place that receives everything, judges nothing, and allows everything to flow through it toward its natural destination. Valleys don't try to be mountains. They serve a different purpose in the landscape of being. In the mystical traditions of many cultures, there are stories of seekers who searched the world for enlightenment, only to discover it in the last place. They looked, usually back where they started, in the ordinary moments they had previously overlooked. The wizard in the fairy tale, the guru in the ashram, the master in the monastery. They all point back to something that was never missing, never really lost, ever actually anywhere else but here. The Zen master Banki taught about the unborn mind, the awareness that was never born and will never die, that doesn't come and go with thoughts and feelings, that remains present whether you feel lost or found, confused or clear, sad or happy. This unborn awareness is reading these words right now. It's what's been present throughout your entire life, through every phase, every change, every experience of being lost and found and lost again. What if feeling lost is actually this unborn awareness playing hide and seek with itself? What if the seeker and the sought are the same being? temporarily pretending to be separate so that the joy of recognition can occur again and again? Children love to play peekaboo, not because they actually think the parent disappears, but because the game of hiding and finding is inherently delightful. In the Sufi tradition, they say that before you were born, your soul made an agreement with God. The soul said, "Hide from me so that I may have the joy of seeking you. Let me forget my true nature so that I may have the ecstasy of remembering. Let me feel lost so that finding you will be all the sweeter." Perhaps your current confusion is you keeping that ancient agreement, playing your part in a cosmic game of love. The Christian mystic Meister Eckhart wrote, "God is not found in the soul by adding anything, but by subtracting." What needs to be subtracted? The belief that you are separate from what you're seeking, the story that you are broken and need fixing, the idea that being lost means you've made a mistake. In quantum physics, scientists have discovered that the observer and the observed are not separate. The act of observation changes what is being observed. You are not separate from your experience of being lost. You are the awareness in which the experience of being lost arises. You are not trying to solve the problem of being lost. You are the space in which the experience of being lost and the us experience of being found dance together in perfect freedom. The secret door opens when you realize you are never on the wrong side of it. The treasure you've been seeking was never buried somewhere else. The home you've been trying to find has been wherever you are. Always. As your breathing deepens and slows, rest in this profound ordinariness. No fireworks, no dramatic revelations. Just the simple recognition that this moment, exactly as it is, with all its uncertainty and peace, confusion and clarity, is the secret door standing wide open. You need only stop pushing and walk through. And so, dear friend, as our journey through this gentle night draws toward its close, let us gather the soft threads of understanding we've woven together under these patient stars. We began with cherry blossoms falling, each petal of thought released, each gentle descent a teaching about letting go. We walked with ancient monks through forests of wisdom, discovering that feeling lost is not the opposite of being found, but another way of being, present in the mystery of existence. We learned from Master Ryokan that we shine like stars exactly where we are, that being lost is simply another way of shining. We explored the Buddha's tender insight that suffering is not the enemy of peace, but its teacher, that the wheel with the bent axle still reaches its destination, that the dewdrop in darkness before dawn reflects the entire cosmos in its tiny sphere. We sat beneath thousand-year-old trees and practiced the art of letting go, not forcing release, but allowing flow, like snow melting in an open palm. We discovered that awakening is not the creation of something new, but the recognition of what was never absent, that feeling lost is consciousness practicing not abiding anywhere, that beginner's mind approaches each moment with curiosity rather than judgment. We touched the edge of emptiness and found it to be the source of all freedom, like a bird supported not by solid ground, but by the very act of moving through open space. We breathed in the suffering of all beings who have ever felt lost and breathed out the relief of recognizing our profound interconnectedness. We found the secret door that opens not to force, but to surrender, discovering that the seeker and the sought are movements within the same undivided wholeness. Most gently of all, we learned that there is nowhere to go because you are already home, nothing to find because you are never lost, nothing to become because you already are the awareness in which all experiences arise and dissolve, like clouds in an endless sky. As sleep calls your name with increasing tenderness, know that these words have been nothing more than fingers pointing at the moon of your own essential nature. The moon needs no introduction, no explanation, no seeking. It simply shines full and complete, whether visible through clouds or hidden behind mountains. Thank you, sweet soul, for sharing this quiet path with me tonight. for allowing these ancient whispers to find their way to your heart, for being willing to rest in the yasin. Not knowing that is the beginning of all wisdom. Your presence here, your willingness to be exactly where you are, your courage to feel lost without immediately trying to fix it. These are gifts not just to yourself, but to the entire web of existence. Wherever you rest your head tonight, may peace find you in the darkness, like moonlight finding water. May your dreams be visits from your own infinite nature, wearing the costumes of symbols and stories. May you wake tomorrow, not with answers, but with an even deeper appreciation. For the questions that make life sacred. May the Dharma light your dreams with the gentle radiance of stars. May you remember that being lost and being found are both movements of love, both ways that consciousness plays in the field of its own being. Rest now in the arms of the eternal, which are not different from this moment, this breath, this letting. Go, good night, dear wanderer. Good night, precious seeker. Good night, beautiful soul who is always already home. And be well, gentle friend. Be well in your lostness. Be well in your finding. Be well in the sacred mystery of not knowing what comes next, trusting that what comes next will be exactly what needs to unfold in the perfect timing of your awakening.